Atlantis crew on the ISS. This is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
And Houston, we are ready for the event.
Fox News Radio. This is Mission Control Houston. Please call the Atlantis crew on the ISS for a voice check.
Atlantis ISS, this is Eben Brown from Fox News Radio. How do you hear me?
Good morning, Evan. We have you loud and clear from the International Space Station.
Oh, good morning, Dr. Magnus, Commander Ferguson. Thank you for speaking with me this morning. Firstly, how's the mission going?
Well, this is one of the first days we've been able to take a deep breath and appreciate what we're doing up here. We've been really busy for the first 5-6 days or so, but I'd like to think it's going really well. The vehicle's really healthy. Atlantis is doing just wonderfully. It's great to see our space station friends up here, and we've got our big cargo module about 3/4 or so all transferred. So it's going great.
Commander Ferguson, you mentioned Atlantis is doing well, but how did she hold up with launch and ascent and her journey to the space station and the thermal protection system? And how's her health?
Well, like I said, she's doing really well. The thermal protection system you mentioned that we worried about for a few years, it's one of the cleanest vehicles they've ever seen. So we're not worried about that at all. And Atlantis is purring like a kitten. I think she's about 25 years or so old, but she performs just like a newborn. She's doing great.
And Dr. Magnus, it's your first time back to the space station since your stay late 2008, early 2009. How's the station looking now? What's different about it?
Well, for one thing, it's a lot bigger since I've been gone. They've added 3 modules and a cupola, and the cupola is just spectacular. It's almost like being on a spacewalk without being in the suit. You've got a great view of the Earth, but it really feels like home, I have to admit.
Both of you could tell me some about the mission special tasks and some of the things that you're doing specifically. We know you made a rather large delivery to the ISS. How's that going, and what's going to be left at the station when you guys depart?
Well, we are making a rather large delivery, and a lot of our time is being spent moving things onto the station and bringing things back into our cargo carrier. We're leaving behind about a year's supply of food and consumables, as well as about 1,000 pounds of science equipment and some spare parts. We're taking back with us some trash and some pieces of hardware that need to be refurbished on the ground, and some other consumables that need to go home. So it's keeping us pretty busy, but the station will be in good supply once we leave.
It seems that the shuttle has been so helpful in being able to bring up all these things and bringing back down the refuse, if you will. How's the station going to get by without shuttle, being that this is the last time shuttle can do this?
Yeah, it's actually a real good question. Of course, shuttle has been our heavy lifter for the duration of our space station operations, which has been about 12 years or so, if you count the amount of years that people have actually been living here. We've slowly been phasing in some smaller rockets from our commercial partners, both in the United States, of course, the Japanese HTV and the European ATV. And not the least of which is the Russian Progress vehicle. They're smaller cargo vehicles, but there's more of them. So we're still able to get that turnover in material both on the way up, and then we can pack them full of trash and we release them. The one big difference, of course, between the shuttle and those other vehicles is the shuttle is able to bring items home intact. With the other 3 vehicles I mentioned, we just release them and they burn up and end up in the ocean. So from a return standpoint, bringing things back from the space station and getting to the Earth, we're going to miss the space shuttle.
Well, the 2 of you have had a great vantage point because you've been obviously involved in in flying the shuttle and building the space station. What is that like when you sit down and you think about it and you go, wow, I get to do this kind of stuff? And what do you tell your family? What do you tell your friends about it? I mean, this is an amazing adventure that not many people get to do, and you two are pretty lucky.
We are indeed very fortunate to have had the experiences that we've had. And I remember a moment when I was up here on Expedition 18, I was just going about my normal routine. And in the course of one day, I talked to Moscow, I talked to Germany, I talked to Japan, and I talked to our 2 control centers in Houston and the one in Huntsville. And then I stopped for a second, and I did have one of those moments of realization. It's like, wow, look what we did. We built this huge, huge monster laboratory orbiting the Earth, using with cooperation from countries all over the world, and here I am living on it. It was just one of those moments that you have that, like you're speaking about, it just strikes you that, wow, this is really just incredible.
Commander Ferguson, same question.
Well, I'll tell you, when we rendezvous with the International Space Station, we can actually see it about 6 hours before we actually dock. And you see it as a speck on the horizon, but you know that you're closing rapidly. And as the afternoon of rendezvous progresses, the station gets progressively larger and larger. And then we end up in what we call the RPM, or the rotation pitch maneuver, and that's where we're poised about 600 feet below station. And I'll tell you, that is really, it's just an incredibly emotional moment for those who are fortunate enough to have been in that position and look up and see this tremendous space station that we've built in space. It really, it makes me both humbled and awestruck at what human beings, when they put their collective efforts together across a multinational effort, can build in space. This orbiting laboratory is absolutely tremendous, and just to see it from below, it really leaves you with, like I said, a feeling of awe.
Commander Ferguson, Dr. Magnus, I believe our window is closing. Thank you so much for spending a few moments with us, and have fun up there. Soak it all in, and we'll see you back on the ground in Florida.
Very good. We'll see you then, and hello to everyone in the area that's listening. We wish you could be here to share this experience with us.
Atlantis ISS, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the Fox News Radio portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from KTVI TV.
Kevin, you must wait.
Crews, this is KTVI. We're coming to you in about 10 seconds here.
Last space shuttle flight will now get some time off.
Yeah, the crew of 4, including Belleville native Sandy Magnus, will squeeze in a little more.
Stand by, stand by.
International Space Station this morning before they can kick back and relax a little bit. Atlantis ISS, this is KTVI TV. Do you hear me?
We have you loud and clear. Good morning.
Good morning to both of you. Talking, of course, with Sandy Magnus there and Commander Chris Ferguson. And Sandy, we have to start with you. I mean, what has this final mission been like for you?
Well, I guess in one word, it's been very busy. We've been really working hard to get everything done since we are a crew of 4. But on the other hand, I'm just thrilled to be back here on the International Space Station, and it feels like home.
You're having a good hair day, Sandy.
I did this just for you guys in the St. Louis area because everybody enjoyed it so much during Expedition 18.
And we're going to float the mic over to Chris. Chris, any issues in space so far? I mean, what are the plans for the rest of the week before you guys return?
Well, first thing, let me tell you that Atlantis is absolutely wonderful. It's been a flawless mission so far, and you know, it's a 25-year-old spacecraft, but it still performs like it's right out of the barn. We've had a wonderful mission so far. We've of course brought up about 10,000 pounds of food and supply, enough hopefully to sustain the station for about a year to come. We have another couple days docked, and then it's the long road back to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida.